Kafka on the Shore by Haruki Murakami is another famous book by Haruki Murakami, and it is also considered as one of the masterpiece created by Haruki Murakami. So if we talk about this book, then it took me around 3 to 4 weeks to complete this entire book. It consists around 500 to 600 pages. So if I talk about this book, then initially how I decided to read this book was through YouTube videos. I scrolled through many of the YouTube videos which claimed that Kafka on the Shore by Haruki Murakami is one of the best novels of Haruki Murakami and one should definitely read it. So I decided to read it. I purchased it from Amazon and I started reading it, and it took me around 3 to 4 weeks to complete this book. So after completing the entire book, I personally didn't like the book at all and was very much disappointed, and I felt like that my 3 to 4 weeks of time was wasted, and instead of Kafka on the Shore, I could have read something much better. So the question is that what I didn't like about this story. On the contrary, when there are so much appreciations about this book on the social media, the very first thing is that I want to put a note here that it is my personal opinion, and the taste of a reader depends on person to person, and it is very subjective. So what I'm sharing in this video is my personal opinion. So the very first thing is that I didn't like this book because I found that this book has a quite boring plot. And apart from boring plot, it has unnecessary repetitions which make the book very much bulky, right? So due to unnecessary repetitions of the scenes and what the main character is doing, it makes you feel quite irritated that why the author is repeating so much time the same thing by different characters. And also it makes the book quite lengthy. Now apart from this, the plot, if I talk about the plot of the Kafka on the Shore, then I found it quite weird and disgusting, to be frank. Now the plot is that it deals with a curse that the character Kafka has a curse that he will ultimately have sex with his mother and sister. So this is the plot of the story, that he'll have a physical intimacy with his mother and sister, and this is a curse and it can't be abated. So this is the plot about the story, and ultimately the character Kafka does the thing according to the curse. Apart from that, there are several scenes. For example, there is a character named Johnny Walker who used to kidnap the cats and kill them and eat their souls. And the reason for doing him was that he was planning to make a flute out of the souls of the cat, and from that flute he will be able to do some kind of weird thing. So this was the kind of plot which I personally didn't like it. And apart from that, there were some scenes like leeches falling from the sky and fishes falling from the sky, which were quite weird and very much unrealistic, right? Apart from that, while reading the book, it was so much difficult for me to maintain the flow that I cannot explain it in words, right? Because there were so much repetitions, so much illogical stories and things like that, that it made me quite irritated that what's the point of reading this? The story takes you nowhere. So at the end, when I completed the entire book, my mind was filled with so many unanswered questions that I felt very irritated that I invested 3 to 4 weeks in this book, and this is what I get at the end of the book. Like, there was no conclusion at all, and the story took you nowhere. It was just a fantasy kind of thing, and it just ended up. So I personally didn't like the book. But apart from that, if you are planning to read this book, then definitely you should read this book. You should not judge it by someone else's lens, someone else's perspective. Like me, I first read this book and I personally didn't like this book. That's why I'm sharing this opinion with you guys. So you should also, if you feel that you should read this book, then you can go with this. So this was my short description about this book, Kafka on the Shore. And again, I'm saying that this is my subjective opinion, my personal opinion. And there are many people who praise this book a lot for their writing, for the plot and all kind of stuff. So it is again very subjective. So it depends on person to person. So this was all about this video, guys. Thank you for watching.